The day started like any other at Ridgeway High. Students rushing in with messy hair and coffee cups, laughter echoing down the hallways, lockers slamming shut. But what happened in room 12 that morning would become the most talked about event in the school for years. Miss Alina Carter was the new literature teacher. She wasn't like the others. She had this quiet grace, an elegance that made her stand out. She dressed professionally, carried herself with dignity, and spoke to students like they were equals. Some loved her for it. Others saw it as an opportunity to test her limits, and in the back of the classroom sat 3 boys who thrived on making life difficult for teachers: Brad, Kyle, and Mason. The school knew them as troublemakers. They'd pull pranks, spread rumors, and pick on anyone they thought wouldn't fight back. But today, they went too far. It happened during a group project session. Students were scattered around the room, chatting, working, and joking. Miss Carter was leaning over a student's desk, helping them with a poem, when Brad whispered to the other 2, smirking. "Watch this," he muttered. Before anyone could react, Kyle reached out and tried to lift the back of Miss Carter's skirt, laughing like it was the funniest thing in the world. A few students gasped. Others froze. Miss Carter whipped around so fast the boys didn't even have time to hide their guilty grins. Her face didn't twist with anger the way they expected. Instead, her eyes narrowed and a slow, knowing smile spread across her face. That's when everyone knew. She wasn't going to scream. She wasn't going to cry. She was going to do something much, much worse. The rest of class went on as if nothing had happened. But inside, Miss Carter's mind was already at work, piecing together a plan that would not only teach those boys a lesson, but make them think twice before humiliating anyone again. She waited until the next day. When the class walked in, the desks were arranged differently. On the whiteboard was written in bold letters, "Respect, the lesson you never forget." The boys snickered, thinking it was just some boring lecture. But then Miss Carter announced that today's activity was a special drama exercise. "I want each group," she explained, "to act out a real, life situation where someone faces humiliation and show the right way to handle it." She paired the boys together and handed them a sealed envelope. Inside were detailed instructions for their scene. The color drained from their faces when they read it. "You are 3 boys in a school hallway. You try to embarrass a female student by pulling her skirt. She responds in a way that turns the tables on you." The whole class knew exactly what this was about. Whispers filled the room. The boys' ears burned red, but Miss Carter didn't flinch. "You have 10 minutes to prepare," she said calmly. "Then you'll perform it for the class." When it was their turn, the boys shuffled to the front, mumbling lines, avoiding eye contact. They acted out the scene awkwardly, trying to downplay what had happened. But Miss Carter stopped them mid-performance. "Is that really how you think it feels?" she asked, her voice firm but steady. "Do you understand the fear, the shame, the loss of dignity someone feels in that moment?" Then she did something unexpected. She asked a female student to replace her in the scene. She instructed the boys to redo it, this time with full honesty, showing the emotional reality. The room went silent. By the end of the second run, the boys were visibly uncomfortable. The laughter was gone. They could feel the weight of what they'd done. And for the first time, they didn't find it funny. But Miss Carter wasn't finished. She walked to the front, her voice quiet but commanding. "I didn't humiliate you today," she said. "You humiliated yourselves when you thought hurting someone was a joke. You have the power to build others up or tear them down, and every choice you make will follow you, long after high school." The room stayed silent. Even the usual troublemakers stared at the floor. The following week, something strange happened. Brad, Kyle, and Mason started arriving early to class. They participated. They even apologized, not just to Miss Carter, but to a few other students they'd bullied before. And word spread. People began to see Miss Carter not just as a teacher, but as someone who stood her ground without losing her dignity. Her revenge hadn't been about shouting or punishment. It had been about transformation, turning a cruel act into a moment of growth. 2 years later, one of those boys, Kyle, wrote her a letter. He was in college, studying education. "Troy, you probably don't even remember this the way I do," he wrote. "But that day you made us face what we'd done, it changed me. You didn't make me feel small. You made me realize how big my choices really are. Thank you for not giving up on us." And that's the thing about true revenge. It's not about destroying someone. It's about giving them the chance to become someone better. Miss Carter proved that sometimes the smartest way to win is to teach.